to Norway. Snøhetta is the top of a mountain, but not the highest mountain in the country. No.
Second highest.
Jette Hopp, please.
Yeah, in my talk I will focus on Snøhetta's concept of tall buildings, but before that I will tell a little bit about our value-based origin. As you might know, and thank you for reminding me, Snøhetta, we are borrowing our name now for over 30 years from the mountain Snøhetta, and we say Snøhetta is a place where nobody is from, but anyone can go to, meaning there's also a clear reference regarding seeing architecture as built landscape, and also having this interdisciplinary approach between architecture, landscape, interior, and design. As you can see here, all my colleagues, we are doing this mountain tour every second year together from all our studios around the world, which have now in 2023 grown to 9 studios in San Francisco, New York. Oslo is still our largest studio, Paris, Innsbruck, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Adelaide, and Melbourne. So currently we have 40 building sites, 300 projects on the drawing table in 40 countries. And when you look at Snøhetta's portfolio, you will see that the projects are very different. We are not following a specific style-driven approach. It's very much relating to the reading of the contextual framework, of course, the physical environment, environmental environment, also the political and social sphere, and trying to find a relevant answer to it. And what is also very important, that what you can see, that it's based on the Nordic values that we actively promote, meaning openness, accessibility, and democracy. So we will always be an ambassador for those values, and all the projects are kind of a negotiated space accordingly. And this is very well reflected in our latest publication. Of course, the 3 main chains that we see in our work, the integration of all the disciplines, the interdisciplinary work with all the different stakeholders working together, the generosity and the collective ownership, that is very important also in terms of our public buildings, and that architecture is per se always also political space. Also then meaning that we have to be very aware of our responsibility when it comes to the built environment. And of course, the Oslo Opera is also a tall building, not necessarily regarding height, but what is kind of prominent for the social space, the non-commercial space that is evenly important than the state-of-the-art cultural building, but really promoting the free accessibility to making this into a public destination. So when speaking of high-rises or tall buildings, please have that in mind, that we always say that public buildings have to be like a park with several entrances, with low threshold. So when we're working with high-rise and tall buildings, that we always say they have to occupy a smallest possible footprint, but at the same time trying to enhance the public spaces within and contributing to the public realm as added values. So we'll start with the project that was completed in 2018 in Saudi Arabia as an initiative of the Saudi Aramco for promoting diversity and culture within the kingdom. Of course, you can say you will see working in an environment where you share the same cultural values, societal values as your own. It's much easier. But what we do in these regions, we only work with cultural projects, and we really can see that our belief in that architecture also contributes to social change is realized in this project. And this project, that is a cultural 100,000 square meter culture program, is based on the concept of interdependency within culture. So culture is not a single activity, it's really based on the joint effort and interconnectivity of the different programs. So this project contains several cultural functions. The first library in the country, the tower, auditorium, educational aspects, museum, So you have to imagine this is the first public cultural building in the country. So this is the built result. And what we see also when you have a very clear architectural concept, like finding a typology that also reflects, this is a completely new typology. It also helps you to develop the sub-concept like the facade, having these pipes surrounding the pebbles. This is from the built result. So it has the strong signature throughout the whole, all the levels. And also what I mentioned when it comes to the social sustainability, we were almost only women working on the project. So at the end, our client asked us, what's wrong with the Norwegian men, actually? So we also see in this project, we were also promoting women's rights. They can drive in the area, they can walk through the same entrance as men. So this project is also a 350,000 square meter landscape and 110,000 square meter of cultural program. So we entered the building through an interior plaza where we are contrasting the legacy of materials like rammed earth and the stainless steel that kind of is a more future-oriented typology, and all the entrances to the different programs are from this interior plaza. Here's the library. It's the first public library, also with 310,000 books in Arabian and English for all children and adults. So you have to imagine this is really the first one of a kind of this typology. Outdoor areas, auditorium for different venues, and we see also how the building is operated by now, really driving social change, have a quite progressive program, and as you can see here, an exhibition design of Snøhetta, where for the first time also the Norwegian painter Munch was exhibited. So it's a tall building in terms of also the cultural and societal impact. Now from Saudi Arabia to Japan, Snøhetta is currently working with the largest project of ours in Japan, in the Shibuya area, and it's a landmark building for Japan, but also a land form. So it's interesting working in Japan where you have the strong tradition, but also then the very future-oriented approach. So the building is based on one gesture. It's, of course, the connection to the city, the vertical, the stretch to the sky, and in one kind of single gesture, bringing everything together. So it's located on a very central cross between different districts, the Shibuya district, but also then the cultural, two cultural districts and high-end residential part. Just to give you an idea how we how the scheme was developed. We have the architectural primitive, and then we, by several adaptations, we broke down the volume, also introduced the terraces, referencing also the Fuji mountain that we have in the skyline, and then invite nature to the building to increase the public realm. It's a 180 meter tall building, but as you can see here, it's also have different steps that is reflected in the volume. So the public realm and also bringing people into the building is enhanced by different key connection. We have the big retail component where we let people to the rooftop, is where we have a sanctuary area where you can relax. And then we have the luxury hotel and some residential components as well, always having the connection to the sky. Here you see the generous roof terrace and the positioning in the urban context. Working always, of course, with the skyline, but also then related back to the city context. And also the big interior can be used for different performances, as you can see here. Another project that was recently completed in Hong Kong, the so-called air side at the Kai Tak area, is a very interesting one, because that's actually where the most urban development happens in the moment. The Kai Tak area is the former airport area of Hong Kong, where we had the airport from 1927 to 1998. And our project is based on the metro station directly, so it's both has to deal with all the transport and the public flow. Hundreds of thousands of people are coming to the area every day, so it's also, as you can see in the diagram, placing the highest point and also identifying the main pedestrian flows to shape the building accordingly, allowing for several entrances to support the pedestrian flow and permeability of the building. And we also have the central core in the building. As you can, here you see how it's connected. It's on the one hand stepping down to the river and then having the high-rise placed to the north side of the building. Also, the terraces have an important character for the public accessibility here and giving these inviting, open, accessible spaces. And in terms of typology, just to give you a quick idea how we developed the kind of the base typology, the plinth typology, we have the plinth and the high-rise. We broke it down into several volumes to increase the entrances, as I said, introducing the terraces and then also working with the vertical accessibility through the tower. This is from the build result, and it gives you an idea how it is perceived from the riverside. And also what's very important then again to have the entrances and also support a sustainable lifestyle. Actually, this project entails the first bike track in Hong Kong, so it's really also promoting a lot of sustainable solution. Of course, all these buildings are platinum LEED rated. It's nothing we speak so much about anymore, but this is, of course, the normal standard. So the big 60,000 square meter interior, as you can see here, also then leading people from the metro up to the ground floor, having very clear positioning of the entrance of the high-rise, and also here how you deal with the different flows of people and the generous terraces of the building, as you can see here. So the tallest building actually in this collection, I think it's 240 meter high that we are currently developing. It's under construction in New York. There's a 50 West Street, a residential skyscraper, I would call it, because we are playing with the geometry and the archetype of the American skyscraper here. It's, as you can see here, located in West Manhattan, overlooking the Central Park. And by a series of excavations, as you can see here, we are creating a typology that is transforming the archetypes and trying to relate it to the different sphere of the urban context, having the lower base that is relating it to the eye height, and then the terrace at the 16th floor, and then letting it be more and more slender the higher the building gets. Here you can see the public amenities that are overlooking the urban context, the entrance that is more as a lower base, so it's easier to relate it to the pedestrian, the cover material for the facade, because as you can see here, it's more like a friendly lantern into the skyline of New York, working with the warm tones of the silhouette of New York. One of my favorite projects that I have included for today is a project that we have under construction in the city center of Brussels, because it's about the retrofit and the reuse of existing buildings. It's the so-called Centre Monet. You can see here it's a typical 70s building. It's 80 meters high, approximately 80,000 square meters. So our task is to reintroduce it to the public realm and giving it another role also in the urban fabric. The city structure of Brussels, just to give you an idea around the building, it's very, of course, grown as you see it in many European cities. But what is interesting when you subtract the more taller buildings, where you see our citizen Centre Monet, that is close to the Philips Tower, the Bourse, the Opera, really to make it, to give it that added value so it contributes again to the city fabric. So what we did, of course, we would strip the building, but we did some slight amendments. So we, of course, respect the existing silhouette, because this is a very negotiated architect, also with the city architect of Brussels. We increased it slightly. We introduce slightly other rhythms. We do something else with the end walls, which are facing the city center. And what is also very important, how we treat the podium of the building, turning it into a publicly accessible area. Some ideas here for the facade, where we also locate a lot of energy production and ventilation, so we free up the space within the building to make it more accessible. This would be a mixed-use building containing hotel, offices, and residential. And also working with accessibility, bringing people up, having these beautiful terraces overlooking the opera, as you can see here, public amenities, and a new extension on top, the roof terrace. The last project that I've included, it's a Norwegian project. It's a tall building in our sense. It's a 70-meter high building. But what is really extraordinary with this building, it will be Norway's first naturally ventilated building. So this requires, of course, meaning we will use no energy for heating, cooling, and ventilation. So it has a so-called triple zero ambition. So what is, of course, important, because it requires a completely new shift within the building industry. We are working with also research. So you have a process where you set up a hypothesis, and during the process you have to commit and develop in order to reach the goal. It's located in a very general industrial area that you will also see in a lot of European contexts that is now slowly transformed. This is how it will sit and contribute to the public realm, the street level. And what is, of course, very interesting when you work with these high sustainability ambition, how it impacts also the architectural typology. So what we say, how the geometry influences the building typology. We said form follows environment, because you need a very, very high level of investigation, research, and let this shape the building during the design process in order to benefit, for example, as you can see here, from the prevailing wind direction. So the ventilation strategy directly impacts the typology of the building, which is 100% contextual. Just to give you an idea how we work with different seasonal approaches, day and night time. It's a mixed-use building with the red is the residential component, office and retail on the street level. And this is under construction now, just to give you an idea of the context. It's a wooden facade, and some ideas how we envision how it will look. And what is also interesting when you work with office components, how you have to deal with the challenge having the acoustic solutions, and also then work with the material capacity of the concrete in order to ventilate the building, using it for the energy strategy. Some ideas from the last, and this is how we will overlook the silhouette of Oslo, and our beautiful surrounding. I think I will close there, because in order to respect time, I had included a master plan that we're working with in Paris, but I think since we have another speaker also after me, I will leave it with that. Okay, thank you very much.